episode 3 of Create Aeronautics. We got some bad guys outside our house, so get out of here. Already off to an incredible start to the episode with 3 murders in less than 10 seconds. I have big plans today. We are getting started on our megabase and are going to be building our first set of farms, well, so that we can make this platform a little bigger. It's too small right now. This is all of the iron that I have to my name, so we need to fix that. And I think we have a few steps that we need to do before we can get anything, and that is, well, resource gathering and building ourselves an iron farm and maybe a cobblestone generator. We thankfully have a, like, kind of lag reducing mod for cobblestone generators that just produces an absurd amount of cobblestone when you give it a bunch of stress units. So we're going to be using that for a cobblestone gen, but then our iron farm is going to be pretty similar to, you know, your normal iron farm. For layout purposes, I'm thinking we have our iron farm. I want to try to make one on a diagonal that would fit in like this area maybe, because it's mostly going to be what, like crushing wheels, fan, and that's all. Because we have a cobblestone generator, that's going to be easy to do. I think we can fit that in there. Once we have iron, I want to expand out our platform a little bit closer to our wall over here, and then build some more things over here. I think I have a really cool idea for a tree farm, but I honestly, I don't know if it'll work on a potential flying ship. By the end of this episode, I want to have a lot of our stuff at least prepared to be automated. So like getting basic farms, building maybe precision mechanisms automatically. We have a bunch of automation for, let's say, gold nuggets. We can wash some cool stuff into it. So I think we can make Akram, yeah, in this method. So I think I've already made a farm that uses this. So we could maybe get this in. A lot of options, and I need to start automating stuff because I, compared to Charlie, am so far behind that I just need to catch up. So today is going to be a progress day. I will be streaming most of my progress. So if you don't know, on twitch.tv/Kindle Bubbledump, I stream very irregularly, but I will try to do better. So go follow me on there if you haven't already, and I'll be streaming this out. You can watch the VOD on my second channel. The link will be in the description. But let's try to get started on building out this farm, building some cobblestone generators, and getting some of the basic necessities for what is going to be, at some point, our mega base. But right now, it's just an iron platform. So we got started by filling out our iron farm. This thing is actually pretty simple now that we have the mechanical generator, so that was pretty quick. We then spent way too much time trying to make an infinite lava source, because you kind of need that to automate a lot of stuff in this game, and I wanted to get steam engines up and running. So I built a huge cube so that we could transport it with us on this eventually flying ship, tried to fill it with lava, and then my game crashed. So, whoops. On the next stream though, I was able to finish up the lava placement, get in a big tube, a big container for our lava, a thing to fill it up, and our steam engines built in. We're using Create Crafts and Additions, the straw item, which lets us pipe lava directly into blaze burners, and then we got our steam engine up and running. So we've made quite a bit of progress, but honestly not as much as I'd like. I need to connect up our steam engine, which is powering from that super spinny thing right there, up to our farms and such that are going to be kind of spread out, but well, this is the only one we have right now. So far, I'm powering with just a windmill that's generating 3,000 stress units, and this thing's generating 144,000. So yeah, it's going to be an upgrade for sure. So as I said, my goal in this episode is to try to get a lot of the automation set up. I already built out, it's pretty jank, but a kelp farm in the floor so that we could get a little bit of kelp for belts, funnels, all that stuff. We are going to put one on the ship, but I have an issue. Normally, the kelp farms that I make and most of the other farms that I make use minecarts. And for whatever reason, I think it's just a glitch thing that's gonna happen. Minecarts don't appear on Create Aeronautics contraptions, they just fully disappear, which means we can't use them. So I need to figure out a way to make an efficient but still nice looking and pretty compact farm for things like kelp, maybe bamboo, bone meal if I can squeeze it. And I honestly, I have no idea how to do that. I have also been thinking about the layout for this base. As you can pretty easily tell, we are going diagonally this way, and I think we're actually going to stop at the edge of this corner. Then we'll start going straight. So it'll be like diagonal this way, and then corner, and then straight this way. For the layout of this little section, we're going to be underground. We'll be in like the basement of our flying ship. And I'm thinking we have something very cool. So this is all going to be glass. but this is the only part of the lava you'll see. There will be walls over on this side, but this is going to be glass. We'll have a walkway through here. And then I'm thinking a steam engine array, like 5 or 6 of steam engines over on this side. And then we have all of our ore farms over on this side. That does mean that this area here is free to be used for some additional farms. What I think we should do is construct it so that that is the furthest out it goes. We can do a little bit more, but that would be... Bro, even the Enderman looked at me like, what the heck are you doing? I don't know, dude. I'm trying my hardest. And sometimes that's not enough, and that's okay. As I was saying, I feel like this should be the outermost point so that we still have a... Maybe I was a little dramatic. I think what this is telling me is that I need to make this little edge a little bit longer. Here we go. The third try is the charm. I will not move from this spot. I still want a good view of the steam engines, so this should be as far out as we go. Honestly, maybe even that, because otherwise we're blocking the view, and that's not really ideal, which then means we need some pretty compact and still somehow nice looking diagonal kelp, sugarcane, tree farms. But I think I need to do this in a creative testing world to figure out how the heck these are going to work. So here we are in a super flat world where I've actually gotten started with a build. And I thought, hey, let's bring you into this, and then we can scrap this and go on to something almost certainly better. So our eventual goal is to make a tree farm, sugarcane farm, and kelp farm, potentially also bamboo, but maybe not, is to make these 3 main farms and preferably use a small space to do it. The easiest way to do that is to use bone meal, because then we can, let's say, plant a sapling with a deployer, bone meal up that sapling, and then cut it with a saw and be good. And we could do the same for the other 2. So why don't we make a bone meal farm? That's what I was doing here. And when I got mostly done with it, I haven't hooked everything up, but when I got mostly done with it, I don't know if you can see stuff, but we have a fan system, pressing systems, crushing wheels, a lot of stuff. And there's Create 6, just normal Create now, I guess. It's been a year. We can use packages. We can send these things out. And you might be wondering, what even is the process to get bone meal without using like moss or something? So in our mod pack here, we actually have a way to get bone meal using Create Aquatic Ambitions. This is actually a really nice mod that I may add to my mod pack. My mod pack, you say? I haven't told you about it? Well, I have some very good news. I have partnered with Shockbite Hosting and am going to be launching my own YouTube members server. This will be available for all YouTube members of any tier. I think the cheapest is $3 at least in the US. And you will be able to join it if you are a YouTube member and join my Discord. But you can also get your own server with 25% off by visiting the link in the description or by using code BUBBLE at checkout. And with this server, I have a mod pack. That'll be also in the description. It is currently in beta, so it's a work in progress. The YouTube member server is set to launch in mid-June, so in a little less than a month, and I will have an official announcement and start date closer to that time. Going back to this recipe though, we have suspicious rocks, which can be washed into bone meal and bones. Suspicious rocks can be made by millstoning limestone, which can be generated using the mechanical generators from Create Cobblestone. So we have that going into millstones, which will then drop down onto the belts below. That'll also make, though, calcium-rich powder, which can be used to make calcite, which can then be used and crushed for a 75% chance at bone meal. So this should be a pretty efficient farm. Now for the reason of why I'm scrapping this. In the new Create Mod update, and again, it's not that new, it's a year old now, the whole point is to have modular systems. So let's say here, a crushing system, a fanning system, a sawing system, a pressing system. These can all talk to each other. You can crush something and then send it over to the fan to be washed into something else, which basically means we don't need to do this compact stuff. We can just make a bunch of different modules for everything that we're using here, and then also use that for basically every other farm. It's kind of brilliant. So instead of doing this super complicated design, how about we just have a mechanical generator making limestone and putting it into a chest so that our Create 6 system can use it. We can then send that limestone over to a mill stoning system. So basically what we have here, but it's standalone and can be reused. And then we do the same thing for everything else. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna build up a little mock-up here just to go over everything. And it will be more complicated to just make the things that we wanna make in this farm, but it does mean we'll be able to reuse everything here and save ourselves a lot of effort in the long run. I've gone ahead and made a mock-up that is leagues bigger than what we have over here, but as I mentioned, it's repeatable. We have crushing wheels that you can use to crush any item in the game instead of just requiring it for the calcite and gravel that we're using. We have a washing system that you can use to wash everything in the game. We have a millstone system, etc., etc. And I've actually gone ahead and automated at least one of the steps here for calcium-rich powder. You can see we have 10 stacks of that after, I think it's millstoning. Limestone? Yeah. And then we also have some of those sus rocks. Now though, let me set up all the factory gauges for all the other automation that we need, and then we can get to automating bone meal. We should have full automation of bone meal for both calcite crushing and our suspicious rocks. So it looks like everything's running pretty well. Let's speed this game up and see if we automate bone meal. It looks like we already are. So we are already done. We have our 11 stacks of bone meal, some gathered from those suspicious rocks, and the remaining ones gathered from these, which I think means we've done a good job here. So that is bone meal out of the way. And honestly, I don't want to toot my own horn. It's pretty simple, all things considered. We also have the bonus output of extra bone and some extra nautilus shells, which could also give us a little bit more bone meal, because you can crush nautilus shells into bone meal, and the same is true with bones. So overall, pretty good. Now though, let's get to the farms that I wanted to make. These aren't super indicative, but if you remember, tree farm here, sugarcane farm here, and a kelp farm here. And these need to use 0 minecarts. And I'd rather them not have a circular kind of pattern. I want them to be able to be a 1-block farm. And I think let's start with a tree farm. So I've got a tree farm set up and working. This is actually a really nice system. So it's diagonal in the format that I want, so it's gonna fit in our base really well. And then more importantly, it uses bone meal, which is great. I have it set up with our factory gauges over here already, so let's just say we want 10 stacks. We'll request bone meal, it'll get sent over to our dispenser, and then when our dispenser has more than 10 bone meal, it'll start going. And then it chops the tree, gets all the items in the auger shaft, which is a create aeronautics block, and that'll drop it out onto the belt and go into our barrels to be sent off. The reason we're using a pulse timer and not like a thing with observers here is, well, let's just show you what happens if we put in a bunch of these. It will never spawn a tree because we have a block here. So that's why we did it that way. But yeah, overall, this is working great. Now let's get in a kelp and bamboo farm, or kelp and sugarcane farm, and I think those will also fit into bamboo, so I'm not really worried about that. And I actually think bamboo is going to work with this exact farm system, where we have something bone mealing to bamboo. This saw will have to be 1 block higher, so it would have to be here, but that would work fine, and then bamboo would work. As for kelp and sugarcane, I honestly feel like it would just be easier to use a piston pushing the block off, and then we collect it with maybe a sophisticated backpack or a magnet upgrade. That's not going to work for every farm, but it will work for our needs, and it's honestly just going to be a lot easier. So I have this super simple mock-up here, and if we move that back a block, have this shooting into our dispenser here, and grab ourselves some bone meal, that will pop it up and give us a bunch of kelp. Super, super simple. So I've also gone ahead and made a little mock-up for kelp, and this will also work for sugarcane. We just get rid of the water. In order to test it out, all we need to do is set up another factory gauge, set it up with kelp, and then have this bone meal there. Now all we need to do is send this to bone meal kelp, and I'll do a stack for a stack. I think that's our number. And then I want 10 stacks of that. So we should get bone meal coming over here, going into our dispenser, and then once our dispenser has enough bone meal in it, it doesn't know where to go. There we go. So now it's getting put in, we're hoppering it in as we speak, and incredible. And we should also see that our barrel underneath here is picking up with its magnet upgrade. Honestly, I don't know why it's not doing it. Okay, it was something weird with the barrel, but it is working now. It's picking up our kelp, And I put a block on top here just for good measure. I don't think it's necessary, but I'm putting it there anyway. We can also just have this be our kelp storage if we wish, so that could be something we choose on the survival world. But now that we have these two mocked up, I'm especially happy with the tree farm, but now that we have these two mocked up, let's get back to the world, and I actually have some plans that we need to do before we get to this, because well, kelp is affordable, but the tree farm one is a little bit expensive. We need a deployer, we need some extra stuff. It'll be a little bit expensive. Now that we have all of those prepped up, I actually have another problem. I don't know if you remember, but in the time lapses, a lot of it wasn't me building. It was just us zooming in on whatever thing we were building, because I never had the resources for anything. So I think it might legitimately be better worth my time before we get in those things that we just designed to use some factory gauges to automate things that we can automate. So we have a bunch of iron ingots. I probably want to get some more iron nuggets, but that's besides the point. And then we can make some things. So I've stolen wood during one of the live streams from some of the other members on the server because they have wood farms and stuff. So we can use that, and we can use our iron to make, honestly, quite a few different things. We'll need to make some sawing modules and other things like that, but we can make things like andesite with our compressing. So it's just gravel and flint, which we have in here, and some lava. So we can automate that. We can automate then andesite alloys with our nuggets that we get from our iron farm. There's a lot that we can automate, and I need to do it before I start building tree farms, bamboo farms, wood farms, whatever. And it will, I think, save me time. So I think let's actually do that. And then once those are in and automated, we should be able to make our farms a little bit easier. I do think, though, that this is going to require us to build a little bit of a roof to get in our storage. And I think it's better if I just show you than try to explain it. So I think we're getting into another time lapse. Let's get it. So we started off this automation process by just trying to automate andesite. We have most of the ingredients for that with flint and gravel. All we needed was lava. So I dragged over the lava from the infinite lava source with a pipe and hooked it up to our andesite generator, which is literally just a press. And then I was like, well, we should probably connect it to a storage system. And I thought, hey, it would be so epic if we could hang the storage system from the ceiling. So we got that set up, and then I ran into an issue where it's difficult to connect farms on the floor to the storage system on the ceiling. So I kind of just got into flow state, building out some platforms, getting our chain conveyor set up, and connecting them all together. But with that, we are done, so let's get back to the world. Back on the server now, this is how our base is looking. The amount of transformation we have had in one episode is actually astounding. This thing is looking pretty sweet, and I hope you can see some of the vision. But currently, this is mostly aesthetics. We don't really have any function because I don't have any factory gauges in here. And that's mostly because I'm scared and horrified. Because as I said, I don't actually have a plan for this base. I haven't mapped this out in creative or anything, and plopping down where my factory gauges are going to be going is kind of horrifying. I also have no idea where I want them to be, but honestly, maybe we have it as like a wall in the center here? I'm trying to picture how the flow is going to go. To give you a little insight, we are going to have farms over on this side and then going all the way down that way on the ground floor. And we're going to have farms over on this side up until the steam engines. When we get to the steam engines, this will just be a row of steam engines across. We'll have displays saying how much stress units we're generating and all that fun stuff, but that'll be most of it on this side. So we really have like the middle and then maybe one of the second floors. So potentially, maybe we have something like this where we have a little bridge going over and hanging from the ceiling again, like our vaults, is our factory gauge board. I actually really like that idea. I think we'll try that. And worst case scenario, worst case scenario, if I'm like, this is the ugliest thing I've ever laid eyes upon, we could take it down. This is probably really stupid for a potentially flying contraption in the future, but I want to use blocks of iron because they have such a nice contrast with the industrial iron that we're using for the main part of the build. Ooh, wait a minute. I have just identified an issue. Our factory gauge board needs to be flat. That might make it look super uggo. Oh boy, I've thrown the roof on here. It is dark. I'm gonna need to figure out a lighting situation here. This is an underground area, but Yeah, with the shaders, it's a lot. Ooh, you know what? I think this is actually gonna look okay. We need lights though, so let me go get something that'll look cool there. Okay, I've got in our board, and I do think it looks a little weird. I'm gonna be honest. This is currently the path that we have. I probably want to rotate it a little bit, but here we have it, and it looks a little weird. It looks a little strange. So if you're coming from this way, it actually looks a little cool. Okay, maybe we keep it. That's the 4th time I've fallen off this side of the thing. I need to put a wall up. This actually looks kind of cool. I'm gonna keep it for now. Again, we can get rid of it with all the factory gauges if in 3 episodes we're like, this is Uggo and I have a better spot. But for right now, I have no spot, so this'll do. This does mean though that we need to make a bunch of factory gauges, and I am broke. And factory gauges are really expensive. They require precision mechanisms, which also requires deployers. Yeah, so these are really expensive. I don't have deployers. I don't have stuff to make deployers. Early game of the create mod. I love that I'm calling this early game. This is early game. How many hours do I have? I love checking stats. This stuff is so fun. I have played for 48 hours on this server. Yeah, this is early game. But now we have to make a mixing setup for brass. And other than my complete lack of resources, this should be relatively easy since, again, we already have an infinite lava source. I'm thinking we put it over here somewhere because we're gonna have a mixing setup for brass, as I said, but then also things like andesite alloy, cogwheels, large cogwheels, and then like pulp, I think is another one. For right now though, I'm just gonna get in our one for brass because, well, I'm gonna keep saying it, I'm poor. I don't actually know if I brought this up. We have access to our storage system here, so we can request iron and stuff from this spot, and it will actually like request it. There's just not really a point in me using it right now because, well, I could just go over here and grab our iron as we need. I have a hunch though that we are fully out of copper, and we're gonna need a ton of pipes and mechanical pumps to get our lava from here over to our mixers, which means a little mining session, I think. I did some off-camera mining and we have a bunch of copper now. Don't ask how I got it, but now we can make a bunch of pipes, which is fantastic, and then once we get it set up, we'll also then be able to make some brass with it. Look at this mixer. You could fit so many boys in here. And it's working. We're making brass. Oh, and it's going over here, it's decided. Fantastic. Well, this is a great spot to pick it up. And now we can afford the deployer hand, and therefore deployer, to make the precision mechanisms we need. I've also set up kind of a, well, I guess the framework for the rest of the mixers. These are all set up with package filters so that we can say, hey, General Frogport, just get all mixer items, and then we'll specify which ones go where in these tunnels specifically. So we can actually make 4 of these. I'm gonna do it. We'll need them eventually. And now I'm not poor anymore. We have a ton of brass. And I think we can actually also just afford a full machine to make infinite precision mechanisms. And honestly, if that's the case, it's totally worth building now. We have our precision mechanism farm set up, and I want to just make sure it's working. It is before I do the remaining incomplete mechanisms that we have. But this farm is so nice. If you've never seen something like this, it's just an item vault that cycles the thing back around so that it can do 5 of them in a row. Oop, we also made another golden sheet just because it has an 80% chance of success. So there we go. Oh baby, we have complexity. This is genuinely fantastic. I want it so bad to make some gosh darn factory gauges, and they're just so expensive. But this is great. We can now get those set up. So I think I just need a stock something. Oh, and I actually have them in my inventory. We can make 6 factory gauges right now. Awesome. So now I got to figure out what we even can automate right now. We have some iron, some andesite, some iron nuggets, some spruce, and some gravel. I don't even know if we could automate a single thing right now. And you know what? We can actually set up automation for andesite alloys right now. And that's because all we need for this is, well, to first hook up our iron and andesite farms, and then also hook up our mixing setup to storage. So we're setting this to mixer asterisks, and then I swear I had a clipboard somewhere over here, but maybe I didn't. Well, I stole one from inside the house, and we already have storage and access points set up. So we could just right click these 2 frog ports and add those both in, And then I need to manually add in mixer hot, water, andesite alloy, and large cog. But once we have that set up, we should be able to specify mixer andesite alloy here. I guess we have our basin. Yeah, we could just turn this on. I'm gonna want a lot of stacks of this, so I'm requesting 10 stacks, but we should see that package gets sent in and hopefully drop in to the right spot. It does. Oh, awesome. Okay, well, one thing I absolutely messed up is that we need a repackager. The reason for this, as you maybe saw, as you are seeing, is that our basin just has iron nuggets in it when we need iron nuggets and andesite, obviously, to make anything. The repackager will just help us do that. And now you can see we have all of our andesite and iron nugget packages. So if we just power our repackager, it will start working. Amazing. And we do still have 2 packages left of andesite because I have 2 sets of iron nuggets that got depackaged before I set this up. But this should now mean that everything here should backfill into this basin. We shouldn't have any leakage, and this should all go into this barrel. And it's probably worth me grabbing myself a packager so that we can send back out this stuff. And let's actually put it here. There we go. We are automatically creating andesite alloy, and for the time being I need to use a lever, but eventually we'll get a pulse timer in there. But we are making andesite alloy. It should go up to storage, and we should see it 120, 123, 125. It's going into our storage, and we also should see, we can't see it in free cam. Let's head up there. We have 2 out of 10 stacks of andesite alloy on our factory gauges. This is huge. And unfortunately, this is all that I have time for this video. I don't even have to do a recap. You saw how much progress we made, an insane amount. We have a steam engine, we have an infinite lava source, we have the start of a base, we have automated andesite alloy, we have a full storage system. Everything's amazing. It's great. And in the next episode, I want to get a lot of this done and a lot of our resources in. We didn't have time today to make our tree farm or kelp farm or sugarcane farm, but those will all be done in the next episode. So stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed, and also join my YouTube membership. Check out my merch, all the things, plug them all. But that's going to be it. So thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all next time.